It's a very warm welcome to this edition of Africa 360. We're the current affairs show that goes beyond those headlines from right across the continent to bring you what you won't see anywhere else. If it's about the continent, we'll certainly be talking about it and indeed bringing it to you. I'm Chris Maralang and this is Africa 360. In this edition, its overarching mandate is to further socio-economic cooperation and integration, including political and security cooperation amongst its member states. But critics call it an all-boys club. This week on Africa 360, we continue our focus on SADC, but this time we look at the organization's principles and explore its key institutional functions. All this and more coming up right here on Africa 360. The Southern African Development Community, or SADC, recently held its 33rd summit in Lilongwe, Malawi. This conference marked 21 years of the body's existence since its transformation in 1992. For the first time, the summit ushered in two women at the top as the chairperson and executive secretary. Before we go deeper into our conversation, let's first take a look at this timeline. The Southern African Development Coordinating Conference, the SADC, this is the body that precedes SADC, was established in April 1980 by governments of 9 Southern African countries known as the Frontline States. Those countries are Angola, Botswana, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Swaziland, Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Apart from advancing the political struggle, one of the key objectives of the SADC at the time, or the conference, was to mobilize member states' resources in the quest of collective self-reliance. In 1992, the body was then transformed from an organization to a community. Now, SADC has 15 member countries, including Madagascar, which has been suspended due to the political crisis in that country. Peace and security, as well as regional economic integration, were some of the focal points when SADC was established some 21 years ago. Some of the founding fathers of this organization were Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe and Angola's President José Eduardo dos Santos. These two, interestingly enough, still lead their countries up to this day. Some of the organization's principles were that of equality of all member states, maintaining peace and security, human rights and democracy, as well as the rule of law. But in 2001, the organization restructured key institutions. One of the institutions that was revamped is the Organ on Politics, Defense and Security, whose role is to promote peace and security within the Southern African development region. Although the body has achieved some of its goals, it still has challenges. Some of the significant challenges currently facing the body include that of dealing with other regional cooperation schemes, which are seen as the organizations that seek to undermine the objectives of SADC. So the question that we now need to answer at this current moment is where to for SADC. Particularly peace and security may still be a priority, but it is time possibly to change. These questions are addressed by our producer, Lindsay Schutel.
A common future ensured by cooperation. That's the vision and mission of the Southern African Development Community. The region of 15 countries has worked together on issues ranging from migration to disease control. And SADC processes have seen cross-border trade quadruple in the last decade. But the bulk of resources is still spent on dealing with political squabbles. At the recent summit in Lilongwe, Zimbabwe and Madagascar dominated the agenda. It was 2008 when SADC negotiated the unity government in Zimbabwe. The body vowed not to endorse another election without political reforms. In 2013, though, SADC allowed the vote to go ahead. The elections were given the blessing despite criticisms. Even more, It elected President Robert Mugabe as vice chairperson, ignoring the convention that the chairperson should be elected in alphabetical order, skipping from Malawi to Zimbabwe. In Madagascar, SADC decisions may be more binding. It suspended the island nation after a coup in 2009. SADC also barred interim leader Andre Rajoelina and ousted President Mark Ravalomanana's wife Lala from running from office. It's estimated that 300 million people should benefit from cooperation between Southern African states. And in principle, SADC has been true to its name, prioritizing human and economic development. But critics say the regional body's gains are overshadowed by political struggles within its leadership.
It must be expected that SADC will, for some time, really prioritize political issues than economic issues, bearing in mind this background as an organization which was meant to actually oppose colonialism and apartheid. And that, to them, particularly the founders of that organization, the political issues have not been solved. And the economy becomes a secondary issue, because the economy talks about the welfare of the people, not the welfare of the elite.
So how does SADC move from being a series of conferences dominated by politicians to becoming an actual community that benefits ordinary people?
I think the crisis with SADC is that it is hostage to the old guard. By old guard, I mean that the region in which SADC operates is a region where the former liberation movements are still generally in power. And as such, unless there is that change of generation, we won't have much movement really in terms of SADC being a community rather than a club of these leaders.
Whether SADC will stand up to liberation leaders of the past for the sake of its people's future remains to be seen. Lindsay Schutel, Pretoria.
Many thanks to Lindsay Schutel for that report. Do stay with us, because after the break, I'll be joined by two experts to explore SADC's values and also look at the body's key priorities, and that's only on Africa 360.
You will oppose Robert Mugabe at your own peril at a multilateral meeting.